Welcome to the Total Soccer Show and our latest summer transfer window update, in which the Alexander Isak saga rages on, in which Arsenal steal an Eberechi Eze from their neighbours Tottenham like a bunch of Amazon package porch pirates, and much, much more. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, your friend, my friend. He'd never be a porch pirate. He's Taylor Rockwell. Hello, Taylor.
I never would. They're the bane of many people's existence, but I do now enjoy the idea of like ring camera footage of Eze just sitting on a stoop and Mikel Arteta just reaching up and pulling him off just really quickly, and now Arsenal get an Eze.
You have a little bow on his head, do you think? In a basket, maybe? That'd be nice.
Yeah. Who then will Amazon be sending as the replacement Eze is the question. Like, because if one is removed, they will usually replace it. So,
Who's Timu Eze? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to come up with a name on the fly, and I failed spectacularly.
Graham Ruthven, how are you?
That could be Graham. There you go.
Could be.
I'm good, Ryan Bale. I'm just trying to work out what Eze backwards. Actually, it's just, right. Yeah, that's not it. That's not what I'm hearing. Here is Spurs need a neighbourhood vigilante to stop the porch pirates.
I see. Do you know anyone, Graham?
Oh, I know a few. Yeah, I know a few. Give us a call, Spurs.
Oh dear, Joe Lowery, how are you?
About that brief time that Graham was a Caped Crusader vigilante in his neighborhood.
That was fun. Like, that added even more. Graham, Taylor is I think certainly the most interesting man of the four of us in many ways.
Agreed.
I think Graham made a really strong push for second, basically from the moment he started being on the show. Like, at some point very early on, I wasn't even doing a weekend review at the time. I remember hearing, like, secondhand the Fish bait and tackle haircut stories, which is a whole thing. And then you add on top of that the vigilante era, where Graham and a bunch of his neighborhood compatriots were I assume, trolling around their neighborhood with baseball bats, looking for whoever was, I don't know, was it vandalizing, theft? I don't remember what it was. But Graham tossing the Bosnia thing, and, like, man, he's making a strong case, I got to say.
Yeah,
Joe
no messing.
Joe makes the point. Graham does really comfortably slip right into a Mad Max dystopian future. Like,
very much so.
Package stolen, baseball bat with razor wire.
Scotland is like that.
I think
Scotland is like that, a.k.a. the Mad Max universe? Good to know. Good to know. Won't be visiting.
Although the sun shines in the Mad Max
That's
verse, I think.
That's true.
A little bit different.
It's even worse than Mad Max then.
I think when Graham joined this podcast, he saw the silverback of interesting and he came at me hard. That's all that happened. He tried to alpha that.
If that's how you want to remember it, Ryan, I think you're spot on.
There we
Came
go.
up short.
Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show if you'd like to hear more of Graham and Taylor's backstories. Oh, of course, we have bonus episodes, bonus video, and access to our Discord server. All the cool kids are hanging out there. And also, a little reminder, we are on the YouTube. Look at Graham's serving looks up there on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Link in show notes. Thank you very much indeed. He vogues for us every time. He's like it's like a Pavlov's dog. Every time I bring up YouTube, he does his little vogue.
I feel like he tried to fight it and couldn't. Like, the hands just came up. And there was nothing to be done about
Can't
it.
I don't have
stop
control.
myself from watching games and doing the voguing.
There we go. All right. Transfer update time. It is Thursday, August 21st.
Sure
Happy
is.
Be Here Now Day. That's what we celebrate around here, by the way. But we shall go in for Alexander Isak. All right. Taylor, what's happening? It's Alexander Isak. Last time I checked in, before we recorded, he's written a letter, or he's released a statement, I should say,
Ryan,
saying
it's
that
2025, dude. He's not writing a letter. Come on.
he's got his parchment out and his little quill, and he's dipped it in ink, and he's written a statement.
Newcastle.
Let me leave.
Let me leave.
Sincerely,
Yeah.
Alex.
Basically, Taylor, he says that promises have been broken by Newcastle. The promise seeming to be that if a big club, and I put that in quotes, a big club came in for him and offered the right price, they would let him leave, despite having, 5 years left on his deal? 4 years left? So, yeah.
It's between 3 and 40, I think, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not see this coming, to be honest. This felt, for all the world to me, like a move that was going to happen, that Liverpool were basically going to force through, that Newcastle were eventually going to begrudgingly accept. And it feels like lines are being drawn. They're really fighting this, Newcastle, to not lose hold of Alexander Isak. And it seems like that might end up being the case. It also seems like maybe they're holding out to see if they can entice Liverpool into an even more sizable offer, because at this point, their hand has been forced. It's pretty clear the player doesn't want to be there. So maybe they're just holding out in hopes that they can get an even better transfer sum from Liverpool. But either way, we've reached a state in which Isak says, promises were made. I informed the club that last year was going to be my last. I was repeatedly very clear about that. For their part, Newcastle, I think, have gone through personnel changes, so there's some idea that like maybe some people were told, but some people weren't. But then there's also an idea that along the way they discussed contract extensions and contract renewals and what it would take for him to stay. And I think there was a feeling from Newcastle staff that basically he was inclined to stay or was more inclined to stay. And so it wasn't quite as clear to them. So if you listen to the player, he feels aggrieved. He feels like he should be allowed to move. If you listen to the club, they feel like he is their player. He has a contract. They're going to honor that contract, and they expect him to do the same. And we are rapidly approaching a point where maybe he's going to be training with the Manchester United Bob squad in not too long.
Yeah, and Newcastle, they responded with their own statement to Isak's statement on his social media.
Ooh, statement on statements.
This is juicy stuff. I'll just read out one part of it because I think it's interesting. So, quote, as explained to Alex and his representatives, we must always take into consideration the best interests of Newcastle United. We have been clear that the conditions of a sale this summer have not transpired. We do not foresee those conditions being met. P.S. Our fax machine is on. Is how I read that last little bit. I mean, yeah, it has gone. It's gone nuclear. This whole saga in a way that I agree, Taylor. I didn't foresee that happening, and it feels like this whole saga has now moved into a new phase. With 10 days until the window closes, and it might be a phase that doesn't benefit Isak because it now feels like this has become emotional.
Yep.
I think Newcastle could have looked at things rationally and taken a record fee for Isak and then used it to reinvest. And I know they've struck out on a lot of their top targets, but there's still decent options out there. And there's also, they could have gone and got someone like Johan Wissa for like 50 million. They get him for a season and then maybe next year they go and get their actual Isak replacement. So I do think that option was still available to them. But yeah, now it's emotional. They don't want to appear weak. I also can't imagine that the Saudi owners want to appear weak. And so I don't know if this statement and doing this has actually helped Isak at all. And also what's not helped him is that Hugo Ekitike looks really, really good for Liverpool. So it just feels like Liverpool are waiting this out to see if Newcastle are going to relent or Isak's going to relent, and then maybe they'll make their move at that point. But it doesn't feel like this is trending in the way that Isak wants it to.
Yeah, nothing makes you look not weak at all like when your partner breaks up with you and you like hold on to their ankle as they walk out the door screaming, no, you can't leave. You're not allowed to leave. You said you'd be with me. You can't go with that other person. Plus we have a contract. Yeah, like it's I don't know. Like I understand why there is a reluctance to sell for Newcastle and why they don't want it to feel like their hand was forced, why they don't want it to feel like a player had more power than the club, and certainly why they don't want it to feel like another club has more power than Newcastle does. But all of that is kind of the case. The player can down tools can kind of refuse to play or refuse to train. It would be unprecedented for him to like sit out the length of his contract, and I don't think we will get to that point. I feel like if anything, he'll just go back in and play for Newcastle, but do so begrudgingly. But that's not really the best atmosphere for the start of a season. That's certainly not the best vibe for a team of a player who definitely doesn't want to be there. It just feels like it's going to fester more, and it feels like if this had just gotten done and on they moved, there would maybe be some hard feelings, but we wouldn't have all the ink spilt, the hours discussed. Here we are discussing it still, and it feels like it just pours more and more salt into the wound as it's allowed to fester and continue.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. I just want to say that, like this is so much fun. If you're not a Newcastle fan,
there's that.
This is fun for you. Like it has been a while since we've had a transfer saga that has gone on for as long as this and has involved as many high-profile figures and as many stacks of £1 notes. Like I'm having so much fun with all of this. It is wildly chaotic. I thought we were gonna have moved on from hot striker summer to hot winger summer like weeks ago. But no. Alexander Isak, Newcastle, and Liverpool said, no, we're going to drag this on until the end of the window. And at this stage, that sort of feels like where we're headed, right? I mean, Liverpool have, between Ekitike looking good, and the fact that they don't really need Isak, even if Ekitike hadn't looked amazing, and the fact that Isak is now leveraging this situation for Liverpool, which is exactly what Isak wants to do, Liverpool really don't have a lot of motivation to go and shell out a ton more cash to get this deal done. The impetus is on Newcastle to figure out how they want to manage this situation, because Taylor, I think you nailed it. We're at the point where there is not really a win for Newcastle here. Their clear intention and desire is to either get £150 million for Alexander Isak or to keep Alexander Isak, which is an understandable position to take. But at this stage, doesn't seem like either of those things are really going to happen. It doesn't seem like they're going to get that much money from Liverpool, though I do agree with Graham. They have made it clear that they are willing to listen to larger offers with their response to Alexander Isak's Instagram post, by the way. I want to be clear. Instagram post, like, just dropped up on his story after, what is it, the PFA Awards? Like, what is that, the Pro Football Association Awards in England? Like, after an award ceremony that he didn't want to go to because of all this, and he was like, well, I'm not going to be there, so I got to put out a post about how I'm not going to be there, and then drop the rest of this. This is just good stuff all the way around. But for Newcastle, your options are either sell Isak, which makes you worse in the short term, even if you get a lot of money. Keep Isak and things are bad, and he plays for you, and it's weird and awkward. Or keep Isak and he doesn't play for you and sits out for a while until January. That last option feels almost unfathomable, but regardless, it is on the table. None of those are good options. Like, Newcastle waited so long to get their business done. Most of the best nines are already off the market. I know Graham's right. Like, there is still value here. But I cannot help but feel for Newcastle in the weird, difficult situation they find themselves in now. I do not think there is really a way that they win here. Maybe I'll be wrong about that in a week and a half, but yikes, man. Yikes.
Joe, can I counter respectfully your position that this is good stuff and fun in my position that I hate
be
this,
wrong. Go ahead.
and I think it's very cynical. I can be wrong, and I usually am, and I'll explain why. The idea of he's got the best job in the world. Alexander Isak has a job that we all want, right? And he wants to go and do it.
He plays for Liverpool already?
He's just going to try and do the best job in the world for a different company. That's what's happening here, right? And doing so, he's downing tools for his six-figure salary that he's still getting paid, and he's releasing statements and trying to, obfuscate his contractual obligations.
Yeah, but this is real-world context that doesn't apply to soccer. Soccer's just like a soap opera, and I love it for that fact.
Do you love it, though? I just find it like...
If I was a Newcastle fan, I'd hate it. Like, this would be the worst thing that has ever happened to me right now, and I wouldn't be opening social media.
To me, it just feels like modern soccer nonsense to me, and I find
it's
it.
But it's not modern. Like, this is not modern soccer nonsense. This is just soccer nonsense. What I will say, Ryan, is I think you're right in a lot of respects. Like, I 100% see where you're coming from. If you want to take that feeling and root against Alexander Isak, you're more than empowered to do that. And I'm going to love it all the more for that. Like, we're creating heroes and villains in this. And ultimately, that's what sports are about, right? Is the emotional connection to whatever you're seeing. And Alexander Isak is creating an army of people that think he's, that don't want to root for him in the future. And I am even more here for that. Like, I have no dogs in this fight. I am here to be entertained by all of this, and it's working.
Yeah, that's totally the point. Like, I was a big fan of Isak, and this is a heel turn. Yeah. And I frankly, I do think he's behaving quite spoiled. Like, don't sign the long-term contract without a release clause if you anticipate leaving soon. And I also think the timing of it seems like he's come back from holiday in the summer and being like, oh yeah, I was going to leave. Yeah. And like, if that happened at the end of the season, maybe there's more time. Liverpool can plan around it. But it seems like he didn't do that, and communication has been an issue here. So yeah, it's a heel turn for Isak, but to Joe's point, that makes it fun. Like, soccer's more fun with villains.
Like, at the same time, how often do we see clubs extend players that they don't really have any intention of playing, but they want to keep their value up so they can still sell them on for money? Like, clubs take plenty of liberties with their players and don't hesitate to sell players even if they've built a home and established a family and their kids are going to school there. If there's a better offer, if you're going to make that money, they are pretty cynical in their own decision-making, generally speaking. So there is a part of me that thinks when a player wants to do it, I don't know, I go back to like the 1800s when professionalism is first established, and I'm mindful that Ryan is now a factory owner being like, this laborer wants freedom of movement? Unacceptable, which does feel on brand for Ryan.
I'd have to be a northern factory owner then, though, so that is really fair.
No, that's true. Yeah. I apologize for putting you in such a position.
Thanks.
So I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, if you're a Newcastle supporter, you certainly feel betrayed. You certainly feel like a player is putting themselves above the club. And at a time when it's not like they've gotten every single signing they wanted, it's not like they're in the strongest position, it certainly doesn't put you in the best spot for the start of the campaign. It is wild how it does make Liverpool, I'm a Manchester United supporter. I don't love rooting for Liverpool, but it does make them like a tiny bit more the villain when you have Isak forcing his way in, if he does end up making that happen. If it had been him going there and there's this enthusiasm for like, oh yeah, he's there, he's signed, and now they're going to be even better. I can't wait to see how many goals they score this season. When he does force that move, there's going to be a lot of people who maybe would have been positive about it, now sort of waiting to see it go wrong, waiting for it to not click right away, to then talk about how, maybe the grass was greener and all that type of thing. So it leaves everyone involved in a very precarious position.
Well,
I have
go
one
ahead,
more
Taylor.
question for you all that requires fearless honesty. When you post a story on Instagram, you all check to see like how many views it's gotten, right? Or if anybody's liked it. Can we be honest about that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Joe, nodding. Ryan?
I don't have Instagram,
most of the time.
but other social media, yeah, absolutely.
Fair enough. Ryan, you're being silent.
Go on.
Do we think Isak like checked back in with the story? 'Cause, like, oh, a lot of likes,
Yes.
a lot of likes here.
100%.
like it's weird to think that a footballer would post that story, which is him being like, "Here is my aggrieved perspective on why I've been done wrong." Oh, a lot of likes. Like I don't know. It's just weird to me. That is
Isak-
that is a little bit more the modern game.
Is he also looking if past girlfriends have seen the story? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway,
Isak is but a man. He's like the rest of us. I want to disagree with something you said in there, Taylor.
I'm laughing at Ryan.
I don't think Liverpool come off looking bad in this whatsoever, even if they land Alexander Isak. I think they've played this quite well. Where it seems, I mean, unless they come in with a bigger offer
Joe?
and they maybe overvalue him, but really they've set their number. It seems like, and are letting Newcastle figure it out. Like if Newcastle and Isak can reconcile and they don't want to sell and Isak doesn't want to move, Liverpool seem fine with that based off of their current posturing and how these offers have gone. And if Newcastle accept their offer, then Liverpool have put together a fair offer that the club and the player accepted, and you move from there. The other thing I wanted to get to though, besides that, is. Graham, I think you mentioned this earlier on in the summer window, and I think it has really stuck with me. And this is the clearest example of it. Newcastle are being faced with the reality of where they sit in the eyes of so many players in the transfer market. And I don't know if that's something that Newcastle pictured when they went through this process of transitioning ownership and, oh, wow, we've got the money of an entire nation behind us. We can do anything. Like we are on a rocket to the moon. That hasn't been the case this summer, where players have told them repeatedly, no, I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else. And we'll talk about that for another team in the Premier League in just a minute or two. That is not, they're not alone in that situation. But this is the clearest example of Newcastle having to face the reality that they are not where they thought they were or where they want to be in the hierarchy of soccer teams on the planet, right? I mean, we've seen it over and over and over again. Delap, and you think about that's sort of the start of the window, all the way now to Isak, closer to the end of it. And that's got to sting a bit for Newcastle. And I think that is sort of what we're seeing play out, is them trying to scratch and claw for the validation of, no, we want to be keeping these kinds of players. And I'm sympathetic to that. Like, you can't win the Champions League if you can't keep players like Alexander Isak in your squad. The unfortunate thing for Newcastle is it seems like there is still a cycle too soon to be doing that sort of thing.
I think they anticipated this summer would be the moment that they were shopping from the top shelf of the transfer window, and that hasn't happened. João Pedro, Liam Delap, Brian Mbeumo, Mateus Cunha, over and over again. Ekitike, they found that they are still able to sign decent players like Anthony Elanga, good player. Johan Wissa, if they get him, good player. But these are not players that are going to turn them into title challengers. What I would say is, a few weeks ago, we were sort of speculating. There didn't seem to be much information on why that would be the case. The more I've read about it in the last couple of weeks, it does seem like the uncertainty that we did mention a couple of weeks ago, but the uncertainty at like executive level, the fact that Newcastle don't have a sporting director at the moment. I read about the negotiations with Hugo Ekitike and how Liverpool beat Newcastle to that signing. Basically, Jamie Rubin, who is like a minority owner in Newcastle United, was leading the discussions for that transfer, and so I don't think that's putting the best foot forward for Newcastle. It's not projecting the best image of the club. So I do wonder how that changes once they find a new CEO, once they find a new sporting director. Maybe next summer they are able, if they're still in like Champions League contention, maybe that's the moment they're able to take that step forward.
All right, the Isak saga rages on. Let's take a quick
you
break.
all
Or not.
are so anti-player, pro-club. That's what I have to say about all this. Like, Newcastle themselves came out and were like, well, I mean, yeah, we would have sold him if we'd signed like two strikers, one of whom was Champions League caliber. And like, yeah, we tried to and we whiffed on all of our targets. So no, he can't move now. But it's his fault. He's a malcontent. It's like, well, you all just said you would have let him move. Like, I don't know. It feels to me like there's a lot more of the club looking out for their own interests and then being shocked and chagrined that a player is doing the same.
Is it that players come and go, but clubs tend not to? And there's a bit more
that's probably it.
emotional attachment to them, possibly?
That's probably it. Fine.
Also, like, the Liverpool thing is more to do with hoarding of talent, right? That's the thing that potentially makes Liverpool not the enemy as such, but
You can call me the enemy.
yeah, okay. Not that you're biased at all about that. But I get your point, Taylor. Like, Isak going to Liverpool makes Newcastle weaker in the broader picture.
Yeah.
So I kind of want him to stay at Newcastle, but it doesn't seem like he's going to play for them again. So their reserves are going to win everything next year.
Phoenix Rising? Who says no?
Hey, now we're talking, Taylor.
Good stuff. Break time. When we come back, Eberechi Eze's going to North London. We'll find out where after this. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our transfer update. Tottenham are stunned. Stunned, I say, Graham, as Arsenal have swept in to agree, apparently, a deal for Eberechi Eze, who was bound for Spurs, it seemed, but now bound for a team who are reacting rather swiftly to Kai Havertz being injured. Eze was a youth player at Arsenal. He was released by them at 13, but they're like saying, hey, we'll pay 68 million to bring you back instead of having kept you when you were 13.
The old Pogba move.
Classic.
That worked out just fine.
Classic of the genre. All right, so what do we think about this situation, Graham? What's going on? How would you feel if you were Tottenham right now?
So first of all, yesterday was one of the best days on Twitter that I can remember. Yes. Because it has been a while since we've had a good old-fashioned hijack transfer. And because it's Arsenal and Spurs, there's the rivalry there between the two of them. And the Spurs fans aren't going to love this. The fact that it's Spurs as well, in particular, just added to the whole sort of situation. So yeah, there was some fantastic memery going around yesterday as this unfolded. But basically, the story is, just to do a quick recap and a sort of timeline, the story is that Spurs spent Wednesday getting a deal done for Eze. The agreement was there in principle with Crystal Palace. Eze had also agreed personal terms. But Crystal Palace, they have a Conference League qualifier tonight as we're recording on Thursday. And so they wanted him to play in that game. So the paperwork was effectively left on the table. They agreed to come back on Friday to get it done. Within a few hours of that, though, Arsenal had got involved. Crazy. They'd got the news that Kai Havertz has picked up a serious knee injury. We don't know exactly how serious, but it seems like he's going to be sidelined for a while. And Arsenal had been talking to Eze earlier in the summer. When we did one of these episodes a few weeks ago, we spoke about the possibility of Eze going to Arsenal. So it wasn't completely out of the blue. It's maybe not hijacked in the truest sense of that term. There was a framework of a deal for them to go back to, but it felt like they'd moved on from that transfer. But yesterday, Arsenal agreed a deal worth £68 million, which matched Tottenham's bid. That effectively left the choice up to Eze. As you say, Ryan, he's a former Arsenal Academy player. Apparently, he's an Arsenal fan as well. Arsenal are a better team, let's be honest, right now, so it's not surprising he's chosen to go there. Nonetheless, very sore for Spurs, who were excited and anticipating a player who I think genuinely would have moved the needle for them, and now he's going to probably go and make a difference for Arsenal this season.
It's just multiple slices of a humble pie for Tottenham. I want to be clear. I think I get less joy out of poking fun at Spurs than my other three co-hosts. Ryan
I'm
can
not
poke
a
fun
huge
at.
fan of it.
I'm
with you.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe I'm in the bottom half. Regardless, I want the best for Spurs. I think that's a fun thing if we see some actual redemption there, and I'm interested in the Thomas Frank project. It was multiple slices of humble pie for Tottenham yesterday. The fact that they get gazumped, elite word by the way. The fact that they get gazumped by Arsenal, that it's their rival, and the fact that Eze, as you said, Grant, played for Arsenal and was released and was still like, nah, I'm gonna go back there. I want to go back there. The people that hurt me and broke my heart when I was a child, I'm gonna go back to that club instead of Tottenham. I mean, guys, this is just good stuff. I think this is my favorite episode that we've done.
You're having a lovely day, aren't you?
The transfer drama is so good, guys. I was giddy waking up this morning thinking about doing this show. The implications of all this are so much fun. I'm so happy. Eze, I think, is a fantastic fit and would have been a fantastic fit for either team. Graham's right. He would move the needle at Tottenham more because Tottenham don't have as much talent. But he's going to be a really, really effective player for Arsenal. The sort of my scouting report on Eze is often plays as sort of a narrow left winger, has for Palace, has played even a bit more centrally at times for England. But I think his best role is kind of in that left half space, but he is quite fluid positionally, is dangerous 1v1, sort of a complete player in a lot of respects. He is able to drop deep and is press resistant, can get out of pressure, can drive the ball forward with his progressive carries, can do the same with his passing, is dangerous in the final third, can pick out a final ball as well, in addition to creating his own shot. He put up really nice numbers for a middling kind of Crystal Palace team. I think he really helps Arsenal. Graham, I want to ask you, or whoever, really, is the connection between this and Havertz real? Because we've been talking for months now, dating back to last season, and you were on this train first. Arsenal needed another left-sided attacker. They've needed that player. And they needed that regardless of whether Kai Havertz was going to be fit or not. Yes, Eze is not a boots-on-the-chalk sort of winger, although he could be, but that's not his best role. So it's not as if this is a direct, wow, I'm going to do exactly what Martinelli does on that left wing sort of signing.
Yeah.
But Arsenal have needed that player. How connected do you think these things are? Because I'm a bit skeptical about that.
Well, it seems to be just not my information. Of course, I have no information. I just read David Ornstein and other people who do have information. But yeah, it seems to have been a reaction to losing an attacking piece. My theory on that is perhaps they see Martinelli as the centre forward deputy behind Gyökeres. I mean, Gyökeres is going to basically start every single game now until Kai Havertz is back. But when they do need to rotate or maybe rest him or a cup game, maybe it's Gabriel Martinelli who's playing as the centre forward with Eze out on the left side. So I think it's just about bringing another attacking piece into that squad. And I agree, Joe. I think he's exactly what Arsenal need. Taylor, you made a reference to it on Weekend Review in the form of like a bit of a joke about the disallowed free kick goal, but I think you agree with this point. Like Eze is the sort of difference maker, dribbler, the different dimension that Arsenal need, and I think he would have been great for Spurs as well, because I think there's going to be quite a lot of overlap between Frank's Spurs and Glasner's Palace, and obviously we've seen Eze be excellent for Palace. But the problem for Arsenal is they end up in this, Joe, what's the term? The horseshoe of sadness?
Sure.
Yeah. So Arsenal end up in that quite a lot around the edge of the box against low blocks. And they basically need, my read on it anyway, is they need someone who's going to embed himself in that block so that you can then break it up from there. Because Arsenal, I think, are very safe. This is where Arsenal are at their weakest, is when they play against those low blocks. They're too safe going from side to side. They need someone who will get in the middle of that block and create a bit of chaos. So I think of players who do that. Cole Palmer does it for Chelsea. I think Liverpool hope that Florian Wirtz will do it. Ryan Cherky is already doing it for Man City this season. I think Arsenal need that version of their own version of that player, because I think now we're starting to see some limitations in Odegaard's game. I think Arsenal wanted him to be that player, but he's not nimble enough, Martin Odegaard. I think he's maybe more effective slightly deeper in that midfield. Then on the left side, Martinelli, who I think listeners know at this point I'm not a massive fan of, when he first broke through and was successful for Arsenal were much more of a quick transition team. So it feels like they've transitioned, not in terms of quick transition style, I mean, they've moved away from the style of play that worked for him most. And Martinelli is useless when you're up against a low defensive block. So replacing him with Eze, I think, makes a lot of sense. Having him move centrally, creating a bit of chaos against those low blocks. And I'll stick my neck on the line here and say this goes a long way to me pushing Arsenal into like proper title contention. They were already there, but I was pretty confident Liverpool were going to win the title before the start of the season. This signing raises a question in my mind because I think he's going to make a real difference.
Yeah, I think I said that in the Arsenal preview, that if they sign somebody like Eze,
we weren't listening to your preview.
I think that's been established. That's been established. But I think I wasn't even as inclined to buy into like the left side as a vulnerability for Arsenal as you were. I've talked about this already, and this weekend changed a little bit of that for me. I think if I'm looking at the transfer as like an empty glass, and what does it take to fill the glass when the glass is full? Eze is an Arsenal player. I think, like as Graham said, there was already existing interest in him going back to the beginning of the summer. So the glass is like a third of the way full in terms of we know what he could be, we know what value he presents. Maybe we have to look at other options. We're going to bring in some other players and we'll see where we are. Then I think there's the Havertz that fills the glass up a little bit more, that suddenly you are missing a key attacker who can do a number of different things and allows you to play a number of different ways. Now you're going to be without him for a while. Jesus isn't back till October, November. We are looking a little bit threadbare or bereft of ideas. And then I think filling the glass up more is this past weekend. I think if they beat Manchester United 3 or 4-0, and they come out of the blocks flying and just blitz United and score a bunch of goals, and it just seems like, yeah, see, they're already clicking. They've already got things figured out. You lose Havertz, maybe there's a feeling of like, yeah, but we can probably kind of keep it going, and then in January, if we need something, then we can make a move like when other people are desperate or whatever. But they didn't look unified. They didn't look like they like had a cohesive attacking game plan. They had a lot of errant passes, and a lot of passes go out of bounds. And I wonder if maybe you combine those things, and now the glass is almost full. But the thing I wish I could be there for, I wish there were cameras there for, is there had to have been a moment. I don't know if they contacted Eze's camp to find out that the deal wasn't fully done, or if they contacted Palace, and Palace gave them the like, well, it's almost done. Like, but there had to have been a moment when somebody at Arsenal was like, it would be hilarious if we steal him from Tottenham. Like, the lads at Tottenham aspect of this is that final little like tip of the glass, like filling up of the glass, that I think all of those things combined. But then we could get him away from Tottenham. They feel like the deal's already done. We can snake up at the last minute, further cement our claim as like a title challenger, title contender, title favorite, whatever it would be. I think all those things combined are how that deal gets done. Plus 65 million pounds.
if you're Arsenal, this is how you would script it, right?
Yeah.
You'd be like,
I don't think you could script it better. Yeah.
Let's let Tottenham think they've got a chance of getting this guy, and then we're just going to snatch him right at the last moment and win the title, possibly with him. Yeah, perfect if you're an
They need
Arsenal fan.
his first picture in the Arsenal shirt with a lasagna as well for some nice back reference as well.
Man,
There
that
you
would be too good.
That would be too good indeed. Has anyone ever bought anything on Facebook Marketplace? Because there's a scenario where several people want the same item, and you're first, and you agree terms for the item, and you're going to pick it up, and they've sold it to the second person. Feels like that a little bit. Feels a bit like underhand as well. I don't know. I suppose.
Did Arsenal send a message
that way?
like, my sick child needs this. My sick Havertz needs this to make him feel better. Is that how they got the deal done? They played the sympathy card?
Yeah.
Poor
Maybe
James
so.
Maddison, not even in that equation.
So, Graham, about Palace as well. Do we think they'll have the firepower to beat Czechnoks Fredrikstad of Norway in the Europa Conference League this
Are they
evening?
fighting at night? What is happening?
And
Norway? Okay.
and do we think what do we think this does for Palace a bit more in the coffers? Mark Gehi, I suppose. Does that mean he's more likely to retain his South London services?
I mean, I guess it depends how ready they are or how willing they are to lose him on a free next summer, right? Because he's into the last year of his contract. Sounds like he's not going to sign a contract extension. So maybe to keep Oliver Glasner happy, that would be worth it. Because I do think, cover your ears, Joe, I do think Glasner is a difference maker for Palace. But yeah, maybe for PSR reasons, or just to. It was Steve Parish a couple of weeks ago, right after the Community Shield said they basically have to sell Gehi this summer. Maybe now they don't need to so much. Maybe January, but keep until January, then sell him for like 30 million. That maybe might be the compromise.
Okay. Very good. All right, we'll see how this one pans out. Looks like it's a done deal for Arsenal as we record. Why don't we take one more quick break? When we come back, plenty more transfer business to talk about, including a player who signed for Blueco. Fun. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our transfer update. A few more deals to discuss. Graham, by the way, for Tottenham, if they miss out, and it seems they have missed out on Eze, what's their next move, do we think?
Yeah, so they're in a tough spot because Eze was such a plug-and-play signing for them. I think that's interesting about Arsenal, by the way. They are clearly just making signings to win now, if you look at the age profile of the players that they brought in this summer. Gyökeres is, 27, Zubimendi's 26, Eze's 27, Norgaard's 31, I think, maybe even as old as that.
Sorry, Graham, I don't think that's... Was that Christian Nort? How did you say that?
No, we're not going there. We are not going there. I don't even know where to begin with that one. For anyone who knows what we're talking about, the Premier League... The Premier League are publishing videos of players pronouncing their own name, and Norgaard's is interesting. So good luck with that. Spurs now, it seems like they're going to, unless they go for Morgan Rogers, who they have been linked with. I would be thanks, Ryan. I would be shocked if they pull that off at this stage of the window, because he would surely cost an absolute fortune, and Villa at this point are surely not going to sell him. But the players that they're being linked with, they're being linked with Magnus Agliush, who is a 23-year-old Monaco attacking midfielder, registered 15 goals and assists in Ligue 1 last season, 4 in the Champions League as well. He has clearly got potential, but two things. One, he is potential, which makes him very different to Eze, who, as I say, was like a proven Premier League performer. Two, Agliush mainly played off the right side last season for Monaco, and that's where Spurs are pretty well stocked with Kudus and Johnson. I know Johnson started at the weekend on the left side. He can play there, but last season he was most comfortable on the right. So it's a bit of an awkward fit. It's the left side where obviously Son has been sold, and the number 10 where James Maddison is out injured for the season. I think Kulusevski as well is still struggling with a bit of an injury. They're very light in those positions, and I think Agliush can play in those positions, but it's not his best position. Some other names that have been mentioned: Savinho, obviously a couple of weeks ago there was the news about the bid for him. Again, another right-sided winger. He can play on the left side. Maybe that's the plan for him. I'm not really familiar with him playing through the middle, so that doesn't really tick that box for Spurs. Nico Paz has been linked. Ryan, someone you'll be familiar with through your Serie A exposure. He was excellent for Como last year.
Yep.
Similar to Agliush, like his potential, maybe he does become a superstar, but it's not the same as the Eze deal. So there's a growing feeling that Spurs haven't done enough in this window. I still feel pretty good about their chances. I still had them in my top 5. And I feel better about that seeing their first couple games of the season. But in terms of their squad, yeah, maybe they haven't capitalised in the way that a lot of fans would have liked.
So the interim replacement for Maddison, is that a deal breaker for their season, do you think, Graham? Whether they get something done?
Has the potential to be, yeah, because I think that player is so important for Thomas Frank. One of the reasons that they targeted Gibbs White was his numbers in carrying the ball and doing something with the ball at the end of those carries were so strong. I think Eze is a similar sort of player that you could place him in a Frank team and he would thrive. But yeah, they're exceptionally light in that position right now.
Graham, what is like the age profile you think Spurs should go for? Like, is there
That's
a specific
very
age?
Good question. I mean, over the last couple of years, they've gone very young, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like they need at least a couple players who are... I mean, Kudus is a win here now player, right? He's got to be, what, 25, 24, 25, something around that mark. So that would be... I mean, there's no
25.
there's no one single answer to this. I think you want a balance across the squad. But Spurs have enough young potential players that I think you now want maybe, 25, 26.
What about like a 22-year-old who has lots of Bundesliga experience? He like went to a Champions League final... Has won the DFB Pokal. Like, would that get the job done? Gio Reyna is available, is what I'm saying.
Pass, I think. As Parma seem to have done in the last 24 hours since we recorded yesterday's episode.
Yeah. Yeah. But Gladbach are in for $3 million? That's the same as the $10 million.
Well,
they're
that's
holding
just
out
Joe
for.
Scally, I think, putting that money up.
Scallybucks.
Scallybucks. Fun stuff. All right. Let's move on, shall we, to Julio Enciso of Brighton, who we saw with Ipswich last season, who is signing, Graham, apparently for Blueco, which is the parent company of Chelsea and Strasbourg. We're at a stage now where we're doing transfer rumours to parent companies now.
I hate this so
Yeah,
much.
it's not the best, is it?
Yeah, so that's the way it's been reported, that he's signed for Blueco, which is Chelsea and Strasbourg.
Is that even allowed? Like, can you do that?
I mean, I'm not even sure because FIFA at the moment have a ban on Manchester United and Nice doing business between each other. That's why Taylor, remember the Todibo deal? Man United wanted to sign him and then they couldn't. So I don't know. I don't really know how this is allowed, but Chelsea are getting around a lot of other rules at the moment. Maybe they figured it out.
I feel like they're going with the Man City. We've got lawyers.
Yeah,
We welcome your summons. We'll see you in court. Is maybe the approach they're taking.
oh, you think we've got one room of lawyers? Walks down the corridor, opens another door.
Yeah, exactly.
There's another one.
Yeah, Stamford Bridge full of lawyers right now. The entire stadium. Good luck.
Yeah. So it's been reported he signed for Blueco, £14 million. Julio Enciso, listeners will remember, kind of burst through it. Brighton a couple of seasons ago was on loan at Ipswich. Last season didn't make much of an impact. I think he had a bad knee injury halfway through the season, which was definitely a factor. So he's lost his way a little bit, and Hurtzler gave an interview today saying, quote, it wasn't the right environment for Enciso, so there's a sense that he does need to move on. It seems like he's going to go to Strasbourg. But the idea is that he will eventually join Chelsea, although that's... Let's see if that actually happens. Kendry Paez says hi, by the way, and Andre Santos and all the rest of them.
Yeah, I'm skeptical that Enciso is going to end up being a Chelsea player. Andrew in the Discord tagged me in this post in the transfer channel, and I absolutely love it. It is Enciso's FB Ref scouting report, and this holds. Like, if anybody's watched Enciso, they'll recognize some of these things. He is in the 97th percentile in the last year in the Big Five leagues and Champions League and whatever else, in successful take-ons per 90 minutes. He drives past somebody on the dribble 3.1 times per 90 minutes. The dude is a horrible decision-maker in the final third. He is in just the 21st percentile in non-penalty XG. He doesn't create chances either. He is sort of a one-trick pony at this stage of his career. Obviously, lots of time left, and he's an incredibly fun player to watch. He's also just a super frustrating player to watch. Maybe some of that will get,
baby.
Yeah, right. Maybe some of that'll get smoothed out in Liga. Like that's super possible. But I'm not sure we're going to see Enciso climb up the Blueco ladder, as Graham was alluding to.
Oh, that's a shame, I guess. All right. Hey Joe, get this. Well, a lot of us go shopping at Aldi. Bournemouth are shopping for Adley. Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
So
you like that one? I mean,
I
Adley?
googled
That's not
Adley Bournemouth and learned more about Aldi's planning permission in the town of Bournemouth than I would have liked.
Same. I did not learn much about the Moroccan winger Amin Adley, who being the latest player to leave Bayer Leverkusen after completing a deal to move to Bournemouth. Apparently, moments before we started recording, I believe, a 5-year deal. Joe, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a U.S. perspective first, because I know that's relevant to a lot of our listeners, this does clear a little bit of room for Malik Tillman. There's now about 800 minutes extra space in that attacking midfield line for somebody to go and soak up, and that someone might just be Malik Tillman. Obviously, Leverkusen have a big role planned for him already. Adley, I like the bits in spurts that I've seen from him at Leverkusen. Now, it's been kind of easy to look good for Leverkusen in some of those more advanced areas because they've been a dominant team for a huge chunk of the last 2 seasons, as weird as that is to say. They've been a really, really good outfit. And so Adley has had lots of chances to look really good, but sort of a crafty player who is able to beat somebody on the dribble, also picks up really good spots off the ball from what I've watched of him, is savvy with his positioning. I think Bournemouth are a really smart team. I think a lot of the recruitment has been excellent. I think Iraola has done a really good job on the managerial side. They were impressive, obviously, for last season, as we talked about them in detail. And they were impressive, I thought, against Liverpool to kick off the season. So I have every reason to think, I think we all have every reason to think that this is going to be a pretty savvy pickup for them.
And Bournemouth have now spent over £100 million. I think 120 million euros at this point. This deal's £25 million. They yesterday 2 days ago completed a deal for Ben Doak for the same amount. Don't destroy my sweet boy, please, Bournemouth. Scotland is counting on him. Neither of these players are defenders, which seems to me where Bournemouth needs most reinforcements. They had to bring in Diakite from Lille, who as a centre-back is their biggest outlay this summer. And he already actually looked pretty decent in the game that he played. Truffert as well also looked great against Liverpool on opening weekend, the left back, the replacement for Kerkez. On the basis of that 90 minutes, actually, he looked better than Milos Kerkez, the player that he's replaced. But otherwise, it feels like Bournemouth are still a little bit top heavy. That attack now is built out. Feels like they don't need any further additions. They've got good competition. Semenyo still looks the business. I think Adley will be good as well. I think Joe's scouting report is spot on. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if in the last 10 days of the window or so they're maybe looking at that defensive midfield.
Graham, did you see that Ben Doak changed his name?
I did see that. Gannon Doak.
Yeah,
now.
I like it. He said he wanted to reflect both of his parents, right? So he's Ben Gannon Doak. Credit to him.
Indeed. Let's hope he's also a Ballon d'Or winner.
One day.
Do they still charge when you buy your shirt from a club shop per
I
letter?
hated that.
Yeah. You used to be able to pay per letter, so if you got a long name, then it was
a
financially
nightmare
equivalent.
when Jan Vinegar of Hesselink signed for Celtic that one time.
Yeah. The worst one was always Chris Bart Williams, who's, I believe, now a coach in the US. Bart-Williams, it basically went over the shoulders onto the front back in the day, did the name.
Weirdly, when you're sponsored by Aldi, though, you have to put a quarter into your locker to get the kid out to play the game, and then when you get back, you can put the quarter back in to put the uniform back. It's a weird policy they have, but it tends to make sure that everybody returns their stuff promptly and efficiently.
Very good.
Good system.
It's a good system. It is indeed. The thing I like
Aldi
about
shoppers
Aldi
are loving that joke, I'll tell you that much.
I don't know. I like that particular German supermarket myself. I like the way that when you get to the cashier, they throw stuff through with such rage because they're trying to do everything as quick as possible.
They're on a clock, aren't they? Isn't that the whole thing?
I believe so.
There will be punishment.
Good times. Good times. Now, Graham, one of my favourite things about this time of year and deals going to and fro is the flight tracker. And we've seen the flight tracker come out for Douglas Luiz, I believe, who is apparently left Turin, apparently on his way to Nottingham Forest. What have we learned about this one?
It's part of the transfer market lore, isn't it? The flight tracker, everyone cracking out Flight Radar 24 to see where a player is. Douglas Luiz, very much in England now to sign for Nottingham Forest. It may even have been announced by the time people listen to this. It's a loan. With an obligation to buy if he plays a certain number of matches. The fee, according to The Athletic, would be €30 million. Of course, only joined Juventus a year ago. Didn't work at all for him at Juventus. Was pretty quickly frozen out of Motta's team, and then Igor Tudor doesn't seem to be much more of a fan of him either. I think this could be a great signing for Nottingham Forest because Luiz is someone who is somewhat used to the sort of soccer Forest play, having done so well for Unai Emery at Aston Villa. I think he's probably an upgrade on Sangare, as good as he is in central midfield. And I also think he's someone who could give Nottingham Forest, well, he'll be fine in that system, he'll be used to that approach. He could also give them a little bit more control on the ball in the middle, because I'm a big fan of Elliot Anderson, but he's a dribbler essentially in the middle of the pitch and a goal threat. I think Luiz will allow them to put their foot on the ball in the middle of the pitch, which is not something that Forest have really done under Nuno. And I said in my Forest preview that they might have to evolve this season to keep moving forward. And I think Douglas Luiz might be a player who helps them do that.
Very good. All right. Any more on Douglas Luiz, or shall we move on to a certain Victor Boniface, who I think maybe, as we're recording, Joe, may be on his way to AC Milan. AC Milan, Alvaro Morata's gone out on loan to Como, hasn't he? So they've got maybe a
What a career he's had.
Morata.
Yeah, he's honestly, does he let a transfer window pass without getting a move?
Yeah, he didn't get much. He doesn't seem to get much. He didn't get much opportunity at the San Siro, I would say, arguably.
Yeah, or Galatasaray, where he was loaned to in January.
Yeah,
from Milan.
Oh boy. Anyway,
I'm just proud. I'm just proud of Milan. Actually, before we get there, one of my first memories of doing this show is during Euro 2020, which was in 2021. And the entire summer was just Ryan lambasting Alvaro Morata. I think that was literally every show throughout that entire summer was just absolutely flaming Alvaro Morata. Go enjoy, go enjoy Italy, Alvaro. On this move for AC Milan, I really like the pivot from from Højlund to Boniface. I think people will know that I'm not a huge Rasmus Højlund guy, although I think nobody's really set up to succeed at the version of Manchester United that he's been a part of recently. But I think Boniface, another Leverkusen guy, right? Another player who was a useful impact performer, not an every game starter for them, but picked up a bunch of minutes the year before last, right? During that really impressive season Leverkusen had where they just sort of stormed the whole Bundesliga. Had 14 goals that season, really sharp underlying numbers, but again, easy to look good in a team like that. Had a little bit of a reduced role last season, but I think his physical profile and his technical ability makes him a really interesting player for Milan, who just need talent, right? Like, they just need more and better players to make Pulisic and Leao and their other central playmakers into more effective pieces. Milan, terrible season last year. We talked about them in detail earlier on this week. They need more juice, and I think Boniface is somebody who can be that kind of player. The other thing that I like about his game a lot is that he can range into the channels a little bit and can go and beat you on the dribble. If you're looking at a Pulisic, Boniface, and Leao front three at times this year, that's a dribbly trio right there, and that makes me happy as someone who watches these games and wants to be entertained.
A lot of dribbly boys there. Very good. So, Graham, are we faced with the prospect of Rasmus Højlund perhaps instead going to Napoli, Antonio Conte making him a 25-goal striker?
It feels like a leap for that to happen, but having seen what happened with McSauce, and maybe that's what's happened actually. He's just given his mate a call in his Wimbledon get-up that he's just wearing that every single day to train. He's actually training in that suit.
Loving life.
And he's saying, "Come on over, Erasmus. Look what the tomatoes did for me." Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this deal because I do think Højlund, as Joe says, he was set up to fail at Manchester United. Very few players would have succeeded in that environment. I think back to the player he was at Atalanta, and the raw ingredients were there. He's lightning quick. There's a degree of physicality to him. There's a sort of single-mindedness to his runs when he gets into the final third. Once he does get into the final third, his execution is often lacking. But he's not played a lot of senior league football. I think he's about 22, 23 right now. He's played less than you would expect for someone of that age, and so the hope is that once he gets those reps, he would develop. But the clock is ticking, and Napoli, they've been looking for a striker all summer. They were linked with Darwin Núñez for a long time. He was their top target. Now they're being linked with Højlund, which feels like more of a project than I would have thought Conte would want. Not the sort of player that he usually goes for. And there was an interesting interview this week from De Laurentiis where he kind of expressed regret that he didn't sell Kvaradona and Osimhen to PSG when they offered 200 million for the two of them. And he said his plan, had he got that money, was to go and get Gyökeres for Napoli to be their next centre forward. So. Was it Joe on Weekend Review drew a fleeting comparison between Gyökeres and Højlund when I said Gyökeres had a stinker in his debut? I think Joe might have chimed in with slightly Højlund from him. Maybe De Laurentiis sees that as well, and that's actually the striker he always wanted.
I just see the pattern of player leaving Man United and getting a lot better happening again, regardless of where he ends up.
Oh, it's established at this point. He will be better.
Can't be worse. All right, there we go. Transfer update complete. Thank you very much indeed, listener, for joining us on this one. Taylor Rockwell, thank you very much indeed for your thumbs up attitude in this episode. And all
Thank you all
others.
very much until the very end of that show, which I did not enjoy. Now I know how Newcastle and Spurs supporters feel.
Do you want to talk about it?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. He probably will be better, and I kind of wish he could stick around, but it doesn't seem like he's part of the plans. But I think any club that's going to use him effectively and knows how they want to get the best out of him, more power to them. It seems like it's Napoli. Maybe it's Leipzig. I kind of wish he would just go back to Atalanta. I felt like he was happy there.
He's had Mancunian accent lessons
Yep.
for the last few months, and this is how Manchester. I sent a video to Taylor. Has anyone else seen that?
No.
How Rasmus Højlund speaks now.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Holy moly!
It's great.
He could be an oasis.
It's Peter Schmeichel did the same thing, didn't he? He very much had a Mancunian accent when he came there. He still kind of does.
He did. I don't know whether it's like a Northern European thing because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was similar, but Højlund's is on another level. Like he could genuinely be a real Mancunian. It's unreal.
Is he
I
gonna
look
turn
forward
up
to
in
seeing how
Naples?
that. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
All right, our kids.
Bucket hat. I look forward to seeing
Love
that.
the sunshine down here. All right. Very good. Graham Ruthven, thank you very much indeed for your contributions here.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
Joe Lowery, pleasure as always. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan.
And listener, thank you very much for joining us on this one. We'll have some listener questions coming to the feed on Friday. But for now, bye.